Welcome to Monday Morning Musings. This is the Prudentialist, here to talk about what's on my mind and what's going on in the world. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your week so far, and that you're getting to your cup of coffee, settled into your routine at work, whether you're on the road or just lounging at home. Thank you all for joining me today. So without further ado, let's just turn up the volume and enjoy. Let's get into it. In the past, I've delved into the concept of homeopathic politics, or how the nature of our mainstream political discourse is so diluted that slogans, basic information, and knee-jerk reactions make and substitute for nuanced understanding of complex political issues, ideology, and policy positions in our national polity. This has been purposefully devised by those in power, from political satire shows breaking down the bare basic understanding of our political opposites, such as Aaron Sorkin's The West Wing having nothing more than a laughable caricature of a Newt Gingrich-era Republican to be the boogeyman of the liberal, idealistic, intelligent Democrat in office. Modern late-night talk shows like that of Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart ruined an entire generation of millennial voters by expertly crafting a focus group-targeted infotainment to where they were lauded by the media complex as the way that the kids stay informed and base their political opinions as the smart man's TV show. These shows, now with their successors in Samantha Bee, Trevor Noah, and Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, pitching their progressive policy positions and propaganda, every time with the inherent barrier to all of their utopia-like ideals is that being the right wing stopping them at every turn. If only that were the case. But still, homeopathic politics maintains the discourse to be significantly dumbed down and maintained by the midwit, reducing growth of actual ideological coalitions and stopping groups from understanding their outgroup more effectively. Even now, the current forms of social media from Silicon Valley reinforce this homeopathic trend. The three worst offenders right now on social media is that of Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. Further proof that Trump should have banned the app. But I digress. These apps and their platforms are designed for short-form, stream-of-consciousness communication. Tweets of 140 characters or less, videos of 90 seconds or less, or aggregating news and communities on Facebook where your boomer parents only read the headlines and barely that. They are designed, however, for continuous engagement, algorithmically done so in a way to get higher and higher engagement with progressively hotter and more uninformed takes, to where tweets, threads, and videos inevitably fall into the cycle of strawmanning one's opposition, or simply presenting the most digestible soundbite to the lowest common denominator for a share or retweet, for profit motive, clout, and ego. Now, this isn't an attack on short-form content. Being direct and to the point and not being verbose is perfectly fine at conveying data or updates, but not necessarily in the world of explaining one's ideology or position without room for nuance or context. Unfortunately, it won't be going anywhere anytime soon either, as homeopathic short-form politics reinforces participation in the current system through rhetorical and political tribalism. Knee-jerk sloganeering from "hold the line" to "we are the resistance," and complex ideas are brought down into digestible talking points that leads to the politics of reacting to the events and words said by others. These reactions make it easy for the current regime, which is by no means friendly to anyone to the right of Mao, as Don the Pleb puts it, to notice who is counter-signaling and strike back accordingly. It makes it easy for the state to spend its vast, nearly unlimited resources on attacking, suppressing, and domineering its enemies, who counter-signal and point out things like hypocrisy. It's a cycle that's set to correct itself more and more, keeping groups and individuals preoccupied with the current linguistic structures to stay engaged in the system in order to get that hit of dopamine and to just stay within the know. But so many have rightfully called on the need to stop participating in homeopathic politics, the politics of reacting or engaging in this self-correcting system. Low politics, as academic agent has pointed out on his most recent cigar stream. How does one break free from the politics of three-word political slogans and dunking on the outgroup or pointing out hypocrisy? Well, if there was ever a silver lining to the current political structures and movements of the current power apparatus, that of deplatforming and exercising sovereignty over their enemies, is the push for decentralized networks, parallel platforms, and institutions to communicate and facilitate the ideas of our politics that have been pushed well outside the Overton window thanks to the social left. This has led to the rebirth, and what I would argue currently a renaissance, of the blogosphere. The blogosphere, or the networks and collections of personal websites and blogs, has seen an explosion of writings and long-form content for ideas and political movements, as well as the academic application of certain methodologies on topics deemed heretical by the current progressive dogma. Blogs are where many reactionary and dissident right ideas originate, such as Mencius Moldbug's Unqualified Reservations, or Spandrel's Bloody Shovel. But as the sword of Damocles hangs over the head of many on mainstream platforms, self-maintained websites and blogs, as well as other forms of peer-to-peer networks and communities, will have the ability to flourish without the sword coming down on all of our necks. Now, there are some that might claim and observe that the blogosphere never really went away, and that may be so, but it's certainly more accessible and potentially required as a more survivable platform for the discussion of ideas and long-form content in the future. Email lists and potential monetization options make these platforms for writing and blogging far more viable than they were in the past, as well as to establish networks for political movements and thought leaders. It no longer requires the traditional Silicon Valley social media networks that the populace has been conditioned and grown up with now for over a decade. Blogging and writing, whether you're on Substack, Minds, or your own website, allows us to divest our time and energy away from the politics of reacting and giving oxygen to the dumpster fire of homeopathic low politics. It allows us to divert our attention away from the last decade of SJW cringe compilation number 69,420 and actually let us go on with our own intellectual and political journeys, without necessarily creating the drivel of response videos or internet blood sports wherein the Mott and Bailey game gets played all the time. It allows for a space to be utilized for self-improvement and refinement to our own ideas, and it's incredibly accessible. One of my good colleagues, Mark Doppelganger, whom you should follow on Twitter and Minds, has his social media put out on an excellent blog post on Minds as to how easy it is to get started on blogging and developing your own writing style. I will link his blog in the description. But as the right wing is pushed out of these platforms on Silicon Valley social media, it behooves us to create new ways to engage politically, and share our ideas where our thoughts are properly fleshed out, where we're not simply reacting to the current regime and its midwits who control the narratives, and what gets boosted through astroturfed engagement. Without the blogosphere, the concept of bio-Leninism may not have been created in the form that we know today from Spandrel, or Unqualified Reservations may have just been a series of written notes in a notebook in Curtis Yarvin's desk. The benefit of these alternate but long-standing platforms is that it allows us to gatekeep by the very nature of existing off the traditional platforms of social media, by being their own separate entities. You have to purposefully seek out your favorite writers, creators, and interviews. Thought leaders have to survive off of their own ideas and networks with other creators and thinkers, allowing for long-form responses and ideas to be properly written down, not just using poorly crafted arguments made for the YouTube or Twitter sphere response-style video. This ensures a stronger community, a stronger set of ideas, an ideology that is properly fleshed out. Overall, I fully expect more and more who wish to engage politically to engage not in low politics, but to try their hand at blogging. Not just for the purposes of writing out their political views, but also to be creators, to create art and fiction, interview other writers and figures, and foster the very networks and communities we will need for our ideas to grow and proselytize in these challenging times ahead. I'll probably start blogging myself. That way I can generate an email list and flesh out some of my ideas on a platform that is a little more user-friendly to someone of my ideology, as in case of the idea that my video essays do not survive around on YouTube. I want to make sure that my work survives along with the community that I build. Overall, the blogosphere is going to make a comeback on the political right in 2021, as it allows for decentralized networks, helps us to stop participating in reactive, homeopathic low politics, and gatekeep our communities to help prevent subversion. Let me know what you think in the comments. This has been The Prudentialist offering another Monday morning musing, and I'll see you all next week.